Welcome back to Culture Cast, episode number 28. We're hitting that period, man. The new year has turned. We are officially in January. Happy New Year's 2024. Uh, Boy, howdy. Lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to be spending this episode discussing buyers and sellers for this upcoming trade deadline. Um, I think that we didn't talk about, or I don't think the OG and Anunoby trade happened last time we
No,
recorded. I think it was after
it
that.
just yeah, it just
Um,
happened the day after.
yeah, so the Knicks, they pulled the trigger with Toronto, and
Yep.
they ended up with OG Anunoby and Precious Achua trading away RJ Barrett. Who else? Emmanuel Quickly and a second round pick. A few outlets said that Malachi Flynn was attached to it, but apparently not.
No.
So big trades for both teams. I mean, RJ Barrett, a lot of criticism to be had. He hasn't really looked as the player that we expected, but
Yeah.
OG Anunoby, quite honestly, like the perfect fit for the
Very much.
Knicks. We've been
Yeah.
talking about they need spacing, they need a 3 and D guy, and then
They
they need
got
to
it.
go out and get that score. They've got the 3 and D guy. So, and they got Precious Achua,
Yep.
fantastic backup center, great rim protector, solid lob threat. Um, I like the move for the Knicks, for the Raptors. I think,
It's
to
interesting.
me, yeah, it's
New
a little
direction.
bit grasping at straws, in my opinion. I'm not really high on RJ Barrett. He's, in my opinion, and I don't like to say it because I think it's kind of devoid of nuance, but in my opinion, RJ Barrett's kind of the definition of mid. Not really good at anything. He's just decent, you
Yeah.
know. I think the age is what really sells the Raptors here. He fits Scotty Barnes' timeline more, but once again, he's not a floor spacer.
Yeah.
So again, Raptors fans are probably just like, why? But Emmanuel Quickly,
He's
that's
a
one to look out for.
that's a good kid. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's in the Tyrese Maxey vein of just really fast, can shoot the three well, good at getting to the
Order.
rim.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Very
got
good.
all the new traits of like, he's not Bones Highland, but like he's the him and
Yeah.
Tyrese Maxey are
He's
like
good.
what we
Yeah.
thought Bones Highland would
Yeah.
be. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
um, good young guard. I like that one for them.
Definitely.
But but bringing that trade up is to say that I think right now we're looking at a time where I don't really think we're going to be waiting till February for things to start rolling. I think
Yeah.
a
I
lot
think
of teams are
now.
like, you know what, we need to make a move now, not
Yeah.
only just because like before someone else does the move for us, but I don't think teams want to wait. I don't think teams want to try and get the chemistry rolling at the last minute. The West is too packed. The East is the East, but still they got really good teams there. So
Yeah.
I don't think teams are in a spot like they have been in past seasons where, yeah, you could really afford to just sit there and like, twiddle your
Oh,
thumbs till February
yeah.
8th. So I'm expecting a lot of stuff to go down. A lot of teams I think are going to be selling, and quite a few teams are going to be buying. All the teams we're going to talk about, aside from a few that we know are locks to be sellers or locks to be buyers, a couple are reaches, in my opinion. But let's just go over the sellers first, man. First off, this is a reach a little bit, in my opinion. But I do have the Nets down there. Um, Brooklyn obviously reshaped the team after last season, losing James Harden the year before, and then or trading away James Harden, who of course, had a problem. And then moving off of KD and Kyrie, bringing in Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, Spencer Dinwiddie, just a lot of good wing role players, and then Dinwiddie is obviously a solid guard. But they're not really a contending team. They're kind of in that same group as the Raptors, where it's like they're not the Pistons, but they're not going to be making any noise come playoff time. Like maybe they make the back end of the play in, but I don't really think they're fighting for too much. Um, so we've got the Nets, but that is a bit of a reach in my opinion because Michael Bridges is a fantastic young player. I did put Cam Johnson in this group because I think Cam's contract is a little too wonky for teams contending to really take a bite at him.
Yeah.
Another reach that I have on here is the Wizards, and it's not because I don't think the Wizards aren't sellers, but It's the extent to which they are sellers. I have a lot of guys on this Wizards roster that I think that I think are gone.
Yeah.
Poole, Kuzma, Tyus Jones, Gafford, Mike Muscala, Landry Shamet, DeLon Wright, and Danilo Gallinari, I think could all be gone within the next month. Like, I mean, I don't know who's going to want Poole, but the rest of those dudes, I think, are going to be on a roster that's not the Wizards.
Yeah.
And the last reach is the Cavs. The Cavs have shockingly been in a lot more trade talks than I imagined.
Yeah.
I was making Cavs trades last week or the week before about, Donovan Mitchell to the Warriors, I know, delusional. But hey, man, I'm desperate. I'm fucking desperate. But I think the Cavs, we've talked about it a bit with many of these teams, the redundancy of rosters. I think the Cavs are in a perfect situation with Garland hurt. I think Mobley's still out. That it's time to pick a side. It's like you've got Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen, and then you've got Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. Which two do you want to build around? You need to pick one or the other because there's not enough spacing. Both guys are a little redundant with each other. Like Donovan Mitchell wants to go score, so Darius Garland's role on the court is a little bit meaningless, and then the spacing. So I think this is like the perfect time for the Cavs if they want to not rebuild, but just like, okay, we tried winning now, didn't really go to code. Let's, go back to what we were originally going to do, which is Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. So I've got Donovan Mitchell on the block, Jarrett Allen, and then Isaac Okoro. I think Isaac Okoro has been like a big point of contention for Cavs fans just because the offense hasn't really come around. But 6'5", kind of, not Lou Dort, but one of those like tweener guard wings that can just defend 1 through 3 at a pretty high level. I don't think he's starter quality like Lou Dort is, but I do think he's someone that could come off the bench and provide some meaningful minutes. So I did put him there. But those are my couple of reaches. The rest of the teams that I have on here are the Raptors, we all know. The Bulls, we all know. The Pistons, we all know. Hawks, DeJounte Murray being the only player on there that's kind of like an interesting note that the Hawks are now willing to move off of. But they are going to be sellers. Hornets, Blazers, Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle. I don't have Ayton on there. I don't think anybody's going to really look at Ayton, honestly, at this point. And then the Jazz. But those are the sellers for me. Quite a lot of guys, but we'll get into each one, look at some landing spots, some trade partners, potentially things of that nature. But yeah, so we shall begin with the sellers. We've addressed kind of the, couple of the reaches that I think I might have. But first off, we'll start with the Raptors. Raptors obviously already moving off of OG Anunoby. They've been in talks to move off of Pascal Siakam for the last, 3 years now. Gary Trent Jr., also an interesting player I think he's a free agent after this season, if I'm not mistaken. And then Jakob Poeltl is another one. That was the interesting move from the Raptors last season, as we were expecting them to trade Siakam and Anunoby, and they ended up trading for Poeltl at the deadline. Interesting. But he's someone that should be outgoing come the deadline. Malachi Flynn at this point, I mean, they pretty much traded him already, so I imagine he'll be on the block too. And then Dennis Schroeder. I think a lot of teams would want a Dennis Schroeder as a backup point guard, so for some scoring punch, some playmaking, and that point of attack defense. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the Raptors? Who are some potential trade suitors you see for them? And
I think there's a lot right there. That's a lot of assets they can net from those players alone. But I'm with you on the Pascal Siakam one. It has been a while, and I think it's been overdue. I think the Raptors have waited a year too long. I think last year should have been, hey, let's start fresh. Fred VanVleet's going to be gone after this year. Let's trade him. We can get assets for him. But no, they waited. He's a free agent, and he left on his own. So there's a lot of questions I asked for this team. But a team that has Masai Ujiri in their front office, I like them a lot. I think they'd be a great team come rebuild time, which I think they're going to be in the next few years because, I mean, trading for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, that's all I needed to see to know that they're in full rebuild. They're done.
Yeah.
They're done with this core that they won the championship with. There's going to be no more of any of these players left. They're gone. Definitely think Pascal. I've been seeing a lot of rumors with the Hawks. That's one of the biggest ones I've seen as of recently. I do have a lot of Braves fans on my timeline though, so maybe that is just the bias coming in from people I know on Twitter, but it seems to be he is a favorite of the Hawks, and I've seen the Mavericks too. I've seen a few different teams. He is a very interesting player. He has a very diverse skill set that is,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I really like him as a one. I think as a two, he's very interesting. And next to the right people, I think he can be a very special player. Like we saw in that championship run, he was a main catalyst in the reason they won. He was phenomenal the
Mhm.
whole run through. The Warriors are another team I've always seen that are always interested in him. I've seen the Warriors. I've seen the Hawks for the longest time now. The Mavericks are a new one that are popping up, but those three teams, I've always seen them as the biggest suitors for him on Twitter at least. But there is a lot that they can get from him. I know, like you said, he's on an expiring deal. So
Yeah.
it had a lot more value last year, but it's whatever. It's interesting to me why they've waited for all the people. They just extended Jakob too. This team, man, it's so mind-boggling to me, the stuff they do, like the trades they make and such.
Yeah.
I'm just so confused. Definitely Malachi Flynn, very interesting off the bench point guard. He's pretty efficient. I mean, he's nothing crazy special, but a lot of teams would love him, I think. He's a very interesting, he's just a very solid point guard. I mean, there's nothing
Mm.
to it. Gary Trent, like you've said, he's like a flamethrower. I like him a lot.
Like Norman Powell. He's a good
Yeah,
six man. Yeah.
he's nothing out of the ordinary. He's just a phenomenal shooter. He can score. That's really about it. And Dennis Schroeder, like you said, point guard, that he not he's not similar to Malachi Flynn at all because they're two different players, but
Yeah.
he's just a point guard that's going to come off the bench, provide you offense, and play some pretty nasty defense at times.
And he's
I
an
don't
energy guy with playoff experience. So
exactly.
yeah.
You can't go wrong with any of that. I think they have lots of assets they can net here, and I think they're going to have to. I'm glad they're finally moving on and getting off
Yeah.
of OG is nice because he was expiring too, wasn't he?
I don't know. I think you might be right. I think it was like 18 million. It was
Yeah.
something like that. It was yeah.
And
Um
yeah.
but no, I'm an interesting one that I haven't seen talked about. Um but we know the Heat have been looking forever to get a guy. Siakam is would be an interesting fit with the Heat. I
He
think the
would
spacing would be really rough.
questionable.
However,
Yeah.
the defense, we know the Heat like to be this versatile defense that could just switch everything. They run a lot of zones, all that good stuff. I think Siakam is a very interesting fit in that.
Yeah.
Um, again, that's more of defense, but you
Yeah.
know, not all teams are created equal. And I think the Heat are a team that at this point would be like another guy. Let's just do it. You know,
Yeah.
they're willing to trade with us. Let's just do it
Yeah.
before they say no. You know, before they change their mind. But no, yeah, I think out of any team right now, the Raptors are the most likely to just ship everyone.
Yeah.
Um, because again, I think Jakob Pertl is a very solid rim protector.
He
He's a
is.
pretty easy walking double double with a couple blocks. Like he's not a bad player by any means. He's kind of in that B to B plus range of centers.
Yeah.
Um, Gary Trent Jr. again, he's like Norman Powell light, which was funny because they swapped Norman Powell and
For
Gary
him.
Trent Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both interesting players. Again, they've got a couple young guards, but with Quickly there, I think that's more of a sign of like, yeah, let's give the offense into the hands of Quickly and Scotty Barnes. But yeah, uh, I don't know. My concern, I guess, with the Raptors, from the perspective of being a Raptors fan, would be is I don't know if teams want to trade for Siakam simply because he's expiring and they don't know what he wants to do. I think if teams were to trade, they probably want to make a guarantee, at
Yeah.
least like as far as like a team like the Warriors, where it's like, okay, if we're going to give you young assets and picks and Wiggins or
Need
whoever,
security. Yeah.
I need some I need to make sure that Siakam is gonna re-sign here. So I need you to like extend him so we could swap contracts, like shit like that.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, yeah, I think the Raptors out of any team here are probably the most likely to get rid of everyone.
Yeah.
Um, they're kind of in the most in no man's land with the kind of the least to really lose either way.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that and it's interesting too because that Knicks trade to me it almost feels like they traded for quickly, and it's like
Yeah.
if they can get RJ Barrett to be
Cool.
anything,
Yeah. Well,
cool, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
But that felt more of like a let's get quickly over here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you on
Yeah.
that.
I
Is that?
like the pairing that we're starting to see of these like super fast guards
Yeah.
with big men. Again, I think that combo of Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid is just so
Fun.
deadly.
Yeah.
You just you fall asleep with Embiid and then you know flash goes right by you.
Yeah.
No offense to Dwayne Wade, but let's be real, Maxey's faster. But yeah, so after the Raptors, I think probably the most likely is the Bulls. And
Yeah.
we've been talking about the Bull. I don't even want to talk too much about the Bulls because
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus, we've been talking about
We
them
talked about
for
this for months.
since the off season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um, but two guys we didn't mention when we brought him up earlier in this episode was Caruso and Drummond.
Yeah,
Caruso has been in trade talks for the last 2 seasons.
definitely.
He's someone I think teams are going to want.
We'll definitely.
Honestly, could see the Lakers trying to make a move for him as again, they need that, like, number one, a decent 3-point shooter,
Yeah.
but two, just another point of attack defender. The
Yeah,
Lakers already play good defense, but can never go wrong with more. Plus, Caruso's an energy guy.
definitely.
Um, Drummond is someone that,
He
a team
played
looking for rim protection.
better. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's a good
all right.
rebounder.
Yeah.
Like that's someone I could see on a team like Dallas as a backup big. I know they
Yeah.
have Rashawn Holmes. And they still have Maxi Kleba technically if you want to run him at the 5. But
Yeah.
um, Drummond's someone come off the bench, running some lineups with Luca. Again, they've got so many shooters. Some possessions, Drummond alone might rack up like 3, 4 offensive boards. So
Yeah.
um, to me, seems like an interesting fit there. But yeah, again, don't even want to get too much into the Bulls. We've talked about it,
A lot.
ad nauseum at this point. So we'll see what happens with them.
For sure.
Next up, let's go. Let's go with the Nets. Let's go with the Nets. The Nets to me are the most interesting team because I think the Nets have the most coveted assets
Yeah.
for NBA basketball in 2024 now.
True.
Wings,
Definitely.
3-and-D
Lots of
wings.
them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they got them up the wazoo.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges obviously being the
Here.
pinnacle of that.
Yeah.
He's pretty much like, I mean, I don't want to say he's Kawhi Leonard, but he's like 2015 Kawhi Leonard,
Yeah.
or getting to that point. But number one, availability is the best availability or is the best ability.
Yeah.
That dude's never missed a game. Mikal Bridges is the most durable player in the NBA. I don't want to jinx it, so knock on wood. But Mikal Bridges is a spectacular young player. I'm beyond shocked at the offensive leap that he started taking with Phoenix last season after Chris Paul and Devin Booker got hurt.
Yeah.
And now that we've seen with the Nets, last season, once he got to the Nets, he was averaging like 25.
Mhm.
I mean, he was putting up fantastic numbers.
Yeah.
He's someone I think a lot of teams are going to want. And for the Nets, I know Brooklyn's in a spot where they're like, I don't know if we want to trade him.
Yeah.
However, they just have so little draft capital that honestly, to me, if I had to lock anyone on that roster down, it's Cam Thomas.
Yeah.
Like Cam Thomas is a scorer. That dude is like option number 1 5 years from now. I 100% see him averaging 30. Like he's nasty. That dude scores at an insane clip. Like
Yeah.
at all 3 levels, post. It's ridiculous that they snagged him at what, 21, 22,
Yeah. It would have
late
been.
in the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, or late in the first round. But Bridges to me is their best asset. That's who you're going to net the most picks with. That's who you're going to draw people in the most with.
Yeah.
Dorian Finney-Smith too. Not only is Dorian Finney-Smith one of the best role players in the league, but he's one of the better perimeter defensive wings. Just a fantastic role player. I think so many teams in the NBA would love a Dorian Finney-Smith. Geez, I think Dallas is probably kicking themselves for letting him.
Having him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Royce O'Neal, another one.
He can shoot.
He's kind of just a worse story in Finney-Smith, but
Yeah.
not crazy. I like Royce O'Neal. Killed the Warriors many times with the Jazz. and then Dinwiddie, but Dinwiddie's an expiring contract.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's going to want him, but we know Dinwiddie's someone who's a kind of a microwave scorer off the bench.
Mhm.
And in some situations, as we see right now with the Nets, you could start. So I think the Nets have a ton of assets to move, and a lot of teams are going to be in on them. I've seen stuff about the Sixers trying to trade for Mikal Bridges. I haven't seen anything tied to the Warriors, but I've put up some trades that look pretty good. I'm not going to lie. You know, the Nets get a shitload back pick wise, and they get
Yeah.
Jonathan Kaminga, and you could end up moving Andrew Wiggins. So and Chris Paul obviously would be an expiring contract after next season.
Yeah.
So Nets fans, trade with the Warriors. Come on, you don't want to help out the East. But no, what are your thoughts on Brooklyn? Do you see the Nets ultimately being sellers again? This is kind of a reach for me, but what are
I
your thoughts there?
I'm not gonna lie with you, man. I don't think you're reaching too much. I think you're right 100%. They're in no man's land, like we've stated. They're a bit in a better situation. They're like an 8 to 6 seed. They're not in a horrible spot. It could be a lot worse, but they're never gonna make it past the first round of the playoffs. Let's be real. Mikal Bridges is a phenomenal player. He
Yeah,
is fun. He is a great defender, and like you said, he's durable, very durable. Is he good enough to be your number one? And
I
are you
don't
going
think
to
so.
actively
Yeah,
build around him? I
yeah,
think it is what it is. Claxton's phenomenal in his own right, but he is not a scoring center. He is a one of the best rim protectors in the league for sure. One of the
yeah,
best top threats in the league for sure. But it is what it is. You're not getting anyone back with these players, and you're still keeping Mikal is the thing. You're gonna have to get rid of Mikal to get anything that's gonna help him right now. You
yeah,
don't the assets at the moment. You have a lot of assets later on from the Kyrie and Kevin Durant trade. I believe they have a lot of assets from 27 to 30. They have
yeah.
a lot of
They don't.
assets.
They don't have a pick this year. I don't think.
They don't. They sort of to the
Yeah,
Rockets. I think Rockets own the
yeah.
pick,
Rockets have theirs. Yeah,
and they're out of picks for right now. You can't really build for now. And Mikal Bridges is, yeah, like he's young. I think he's 26 or 27,
yeah.
and you don't have the time to where you can
Build
maximize it.
around him. Yeah,
You don't have the time. Your timeline's not right now. You trade him right now, you get a crap ton of assets for someone that's on one of the best contracts in the league. He's wide receiver. He's
that's the
blind.
other thing. Yeah, great point. Bringing up the contract. Yeah, one of the most team friendly deals
Best team.
for
For what you're
production to
getting,
money. Yeah,
he is outperforming that contract miles ahead of that thing. So
yeah,
you are getting insane value from him. It's the right move to do. If you're the Nets, man, pick up that phone, trade him right now. Get the trucks going, man. Get the trucks out here. Get every
yeah,
asset you can because you're going to capitalize on a lot. Finney Smith, Bucks would be calling. I'm imagining Royce O'Neal, probably the Bucks would be calling. There's a lot of teams that'd be calling for those two.
yeah.
Dorian Smith, I know he's not the greatest shooter, and I know he's very consistent, but he is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. He is a pest. He is annoying, and I think you can ask Devin Booker from 2 years ago in the playoffs. I think he
Oh
showed
yeah.
that phenomenal defender and even had some very great scoring games in those playoffs. He is a phenomenal defender. I love Dorian Finney-Smith. I've always been on his hype train. That dude's a beast. I think a lot of teams would be
He's got a
very,
lot of PJ Tucker. He's
you
way
know,
stronger than he
grinder,
looks. Yeah,
dude.
he can guard the floor very well.
Yes, he is
Yeah,
he's a great player for sure. I know the three ball is not always consistent, so
yeah.
I would imagine a team like the Kings, call for him, man. Kings would be benefit crazy from someone like that. That dude would be phenomenal on your team. And I don't think the price tag is an OG Anunoby type price tag. It's
No,
nothing ridiculous. It's a nice price
no.
tag. For
He
some,
almost feels like in the Jay Crowder range of like you give
yeah,
me a
trade him on
collective
a
of
second.
seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll take him. But yeah,
yeah,
if I'm the Kings, I call them right now because that dude's phenomenal. There's a lot of teams that could benefit from him, but the Kings, I mean, with you guys, it's kind of different. I know you guys are in a situation where there's injuries going on, but I think he'd be pretty solid fit on the Warriors. But a lot of people, I feel like would always fit really well with the Warriors. I just think that's how you guys play basketball. But there's a lot of teams I think that could benefit playing next to Finney Smith, and same with Royce O'Neal. He's
yeah,
one that I have not liked in the past because I feel like he has so many dirty plays on the Jazz, man. But he is a
yeah,
phenomenal shooter. He's really reinvented himself as a shooter in Brooklyn, like a phenomenal shooter.
yeah.
He shoots very well, and defensively, like you said, he's not Finney Smith level, but he's good enough. He puts in a lot of effort.
And he's a smart defender.
He is,
He's
yeah,
someone where if you put him with enough talented defenders.
Around him, he's gonna
Yeah,
be phenomenal around them. Exactly. Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's the perfect way to put it. I think Royce O'Neal is another person that a lot of teams, hey, what's Royce O'Neal's price tag? I don't think it would hurt.
yeah.
He's in a weird spot. I know he's like an off the bench point guard to me. I don't hate the guy, but he is interesting. I don't. There's teams that would take him. I think for sure.
Yeah, there's someone. I think for the most part, it's kind of like it might be one of those things where it's like if you don't have the assets to quite match up, Brooklyn might say, "Fine, if you don't have assets that the amount of assets we want, I need you to take Dinwiddie and I need you to take Ben Simmons
Yeah,
and deal with these contracts because I don't want to do it anymore. So
exactly.
you want Mike Hill, you might have to take. You don't have enough to give up. You're gonna have to help me out. So
This, please. Yeah, I'm with you
yeah."
on that one.
So next on the list of sellers, we're not going to do all of them because some of them, maybe not as interesting, but an interesting team that has recently popped up a lot regarding DeJounte Murray is the Atlanta Hawks. DeJounte Murray was always just a weird signing. Didn't make sense. We know
Yeah,
they needed a number two to Trey, but
yeah,
when
that
we
way.
said trade John Collins, I didn't think we had signing DeJounte Murray in mind. Evidently, that's what they did. Did not work.
Oh yeah, they
Um,
traded a lot for him, right? I
I don't know, did they?
think
No,
it
they
was like
signed him. They signed him. They
did
just
it? Oh, I
traded
started
John Collins.
really.
Yeah, they traded Collins for who did they trade him for?
Rudy Gay.
Yeah, Rudy Gay. They were just getting off the contract. I think they got a couple picks.
Yeah.
Um, I don't remember anything else that they got from that. But no, they just signed DeJounte Murray in the offseason before last season started. Really weird. Didn't make sense. Another example of two ball dominant players that really want to play ISO and pick and roll.
Yeah.
Just doesn't make sense. And we've got a Hawks fan in our NBA chat. He's delusional. He thinks it's a good fit. It's not. Okay, I hate to break it to you, bud. Every year, I gotta
Yeah.
show him the numbers. Trey Young, y'all are gassing this man up. He's not that good. He's not that good. Okay, Brunson's better. Ah, I could talk about Trey Young for days, man. No, but look, the Hawks, if you want to build around Trey, it requires a specific play style.
Yeah.
He is not Steph Curry. He's Steph Curry light. No, he's not. This dude without
Uh-oh.
pick and roll is
Is pretty much
buns.
useless. Yeah.
Yeah, he's Patty Mills, but
You got to play a
without
different
the
type.
defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he needs pick and roll, which means he needs a lob threat. And he can't just have Clint Capella because Clint Capella can't defend to save his life. You need a genuine a Derek Lively would be perfect. A Nick Claxton would be perfect. A Daniel Gafford would be perfect. You
Yeah.
need a big like that. Even a Bam Adebayo would be perfect. And then you need shooters. You need floor spacers, one of which needs to be a legitimate scorer themselves, not just Dorian Finney-Smith sitting in the corner waiting, but a legitimate, let me go get mine like a Michael Bridges, like a Kevin Durant, a wing like that. You need one of them. And then you just need another defensive minded three, a D guard. I like, you can't, this whole idea of let's put more ball handlers next to Trey, it's just not,
No.
it doesn't work, man. It doesn't
No.
work. The defense
Yeah.
isn't good enough. The offense isn't good enough. I mean, I know the Hawks are like top six, top seven in scoring, but it doesn't matter. We know what's going to happen come the playoffs. It happens every single year. They go
Yeah.
from this high powered offense because Trey Young gets all the calls, gets to go to the line. Everybody gets to shoot a shitload of free throws. Right when the playoffs start, that offense plummets. It plummets because pick and roll is so easy to guard, and they've got nothing outside of that. You
Yeah.
know, like okay, you take the ball out of Trey Young's hands, you put it in Dejounte hand. Well, what changes? Nothing. So I don't want to make this about like bashing the Hawks, but I say all this to say they've got a lot of assets that they need to get rid of, some
They
bad
do.
contracts, young players that haven't quite panned out, and then Dejounte Murray. You
Yeah.
know, they need to move off of these dudes. They need to make some better signings if you want to build around Trey. I think you can build around Trey, but
Defense.
again,
Yeah.
it's hyper specific.
Requires a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do it a certain way. I think the Mavs have shown the outline of how to kind of build around a guy like that. That's very heliocentric. Um, it's annoying because it's so
Yeah.
specific that it's difficult to do because teams know what you need and they're going to ask a lot more than what you actually should be giving up because you need this specific type of player.
Yeah.
You don't get to be very like, we'll just take this guy and bank on potential. You don't get to do that with Trey Young.
Yeah.
You need the specific guy. So, um, on the list for the Hawks that I think are getting moved, I put another guy on there, which a lot of Hawks fans are going to disagree with, but I did see an article. That's the only reason I put it on there. It's interesting. I don't think he's getting traded, but it's Onyeka Okongwu.
Yeah.
Aside from him, DeJounte Murray, Clint Capella, DeAndre Hunter, and then Bogdan Bogdanovic.
100%.
Yeah, I think if you're the Hawks right now, you're just so happy that Bogdan's playing well because this dude's probably going to net you the most assets out of anyone,
Yeah.
surprisingly. DeJounte Murray's played solid, but he's not the defender he was. And because of Trey Young, he hasn't quite gotten to be the offensive player we know he once was.
Exactly.
And I've seen quite a lot of people saying, hey, the Spurs kind of tricked us with him. I'm
Maybe.
just saying, I don't quite believe it. I think DeJounte's a good player, but
I do too.
it is
But
it
there's
is
question marks, man.
worth mentioning. Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
I think DeJounte just needs a better situation that
I
makes
do
more
too.
sense for him.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hawks just didn't make sense. But
They don't fit. Yeah.
um, there's a lot of team. I've seen the Lakers really tied to DeJounte Murray wanting to trade for him, which I understand, but I think that's because they think he's still a good defender. He hasn't been that great defensively.
Yeah, not this.
Um, yeah, and if all fairness, the Hawks are a terrible defensive team.
They are.
So they're like 27th. They're really, really bad.
They're not very good on defense.
So yeah, it's could it be a symptom of that? Likely,
Yeah.
but he's someone who he kind of has the Clay Thompson syndrome of just like symptom of just he gets caught ball watching a lot,
He goes,
um,
he goes,
lazy closeouts.
goes
Like
well.
it's a lot of effort stuff, and it's weird to say with DeJounte Murray because he's someone who you typically think of as not like Russell Westbrook, but at least like he's pretty energetic out there. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, he hasn't been the defender he once was.
No,
DeAndre Hunter, it just feels like another Cam Reddish situation. Sadly, he
not a
tried to
fit.
bring in a 3-and-D wing,
Yeah.
didn't work. DeJounte, you brought up a good point earlier about DeAndre Hunter's injury history, which I think does have a point in that because I do remember, I think it was 2021 where we were like, DeAndre
He's,
Hunter had a point where he looked really good.
yeah, he was really good. And that wrist, he
Yeah.
broke his wrist or something, and he came back, has not been the same ever since 21.
Yeah. Um,
Still extended him. I don't know why they still extended him. It's just such a Hawks thing to do.
yeah.
It, I don't know. They,
Like I
they,
get it at the time, but it's one of those hindsight things that it's like, man,
come on, man. He just got hurt.
probably shouldn't have done that contract after one good stretch.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like they did it like a year and a half after that too, and it's like, oh my
yeah.
God, how do you guys keep doing this? But it it I don't know. There's a lot of things that could be going wrong with him. Like you stated, could be a whole thing with scenery. He could just need a whole change of scenery away from that offense, which could fix everything. But then
Yeah.
again, he has been a questionable defender over the last few years.
Surprisingly. Yeah.
And it's sad to say, but I really think this guy just has a bad injury bug that it's just not going away. I think he's been definitely plagued by that badly, and I hope he can come to better health in the near future because he was really good in that time where he was healthy. But
Yeah.
after that, man, he has just not been the same player whatsoever.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those things where, again, it almost feels like an RJ situation. It's like, is
Yes.
there going to be a team that's like, you know what? I'm going to just take a chance because he's young.
Swing at it. I
Yeah.
would like him more. I personally think, and I'm no disrespect to RJ Barrett. There's times where RJ Barrett looks like a beast, but there's a lot of times where that guy's very inconsistent. But
Mhm.
Andre Hunter on the other side, I think he can help winning teams play basketball. The way he plays, his play style is a quote unquote 3-and-D, but on the Hawks, he is not that whatsoever. But somewhere else, maybe, maybe like you said, he just needs to be slotted in next to other defenders that play very well too, and
Yeah.
everything could click for him. I don't know, but I personally would love to see him in a change of scenery because man, he is not having a great few years on the Hawks as of recent.
Yeah. So the Hawks have a lot of stuff to do. I know they're also probably going to be buyers at the same time, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's more going to be they're looking for trade partners.
yeah.
And DeJounte Murray is interesting. I
He
don't
is.
know. I can't think of too many teams though
Yeah,
that want DeJounte or need a
yeah,
DeJounte Murray. Um, so we'll see. It's interesting, and again, it's like a worse version of what the Nets have. The Nets get to say, "Oh, we got Mikal Bridges. You don't have assets. Okay,
yeah.
well, you get to take on Spencer Dinwiddie's
That
contract
contract.
and
Yeah,
Ben Simmons. Yeah, the Hawks don't really have much
that's that
room
boat.
to
Yeah,
say to contract dump, um, unless they're giving stuff up that they might not want to. So it's a
yeah,
weird situation if you're a Hawks fan. But there's a world where things work out well.
yeah.
So, like Kevin Garnett, anything's possible.
If the Spurs were willing to get another point guard, man, you get someone like DeJounte
Yeah, you
Murray.
bring him back, bring him
I,
home,
I and I don't know. I think that'd be interesting because they need some help over there in San Antonio at the point guard slot for sure. So someone
Yeah,
like that who's a competent point guard, and I think that would benefit Wemby a lot. That would be very nice. So maybe a
yeah,
reunion, man, because he would be. I think he'd be pretty good again on the Spurs,
yeah.
man.
Could
Definitely.
work for sure.
He would look a lot better there. Or another team I could think of, and it's more so like, you know what? Let the guy play. We're not playing for anything. Let him get his value back up. Is again, man, the Jazz. I mean,
Yeah, true.
they have so many assets. Like,
They've been trying Keontae at point guard. I
yeah,
think they should probably.
he hasn't been bad. I would say
No,
I know he's one of the better rookie assist leaders right now, and
yeah,
I like that dude a lot. But I don't know. I feel like that dude's really well slotted for shooting guard the way his play style at least. But
yeah,
I mean, if you needed a point guard on the Jazz for someone, because I think Sexton's gone. I think
yeah,
every point guard they have there that's worth anything is probably gone. I mean,
yeah.
Clarkson's for sure gone. They're I'm guessing they're cleaning house, and I don't blame them. I think it's really smart. And
Oh, 100%.
Markkinen is
Yeah.
gone. That's they have.
Markkinen's frankly a revelation because all this stuff works out because Markkinen looked the way he did last year. If he
Yeah,
looked like he did in Cleveland or in Chicago, then none of this is happening. But
yeah.
because Markkinen
Is
became
this
the guy
good?
we thought he would be,
Could be.
um,
Yeah, he
yeah.
is.
So you
He's too
know,
good. He's too good for them,
oh
and
yeah,
that's fair. I understand that, but no, I definitely think that if Dejounte just raises that value and goes somewhere else, that he'll be back to somewhat what he was. Because yeah, the Spurs, I really think he'd be a nice fit there because they.
yeah.
I know, I understand they're in a tanking spot again. They want to tank again, which I understand, but you got to surround your young superstar that you have. You got to surround him with some more talent because
They
as of right,
just need they need a point guard so
they do, man.
desperately
That's what I'm
because
saying.
nobody on that roster is
They're not
just
competent.
able to make good
Yeah.
decisions.
It's too
They've tried
hard.
Sohan. Trey
Yeah.
Jones, it's like Trey Jones has the Killian Hayes thing where it's like, I don't
It's
care about
frustrating.
the assist to turnover ratio. The dude
He's
is
a
just a
question mark.
negative. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a huge question mark. And I think DeJounte Murray in a Spurs system once again,
Because he knows it already.
he
Yeah.
knows that he is a phenomenal defender when putting in the effort. We know
Hmm.
that we have no question marks when he puts in the effort, but it's just the thing is, man, he does not put in the effort right now in Atlanta. And the Spurs can be trading for a really nice price tag for them. And they got all the money in the world right now. I mean,
Yeah.
what you really losing? Maybe you can be a really solid team next year, even. I mean, you're gonna have a pretty good pick this year. Adding DeJounte Murray to the mix,
I
you can.
wonder if they'd be open to like
Yeah.
swapping DeJounte for Keldon Johnson.
I mean, Keldon
I think
Johnson, I
both
like.
works well. Would be a great fit next to Trey Young as a
Yeah,
floor spacer.
and
Um,
he
yeah,
can get up. So they have a lot of options for the Spurs. I just think DeJounte Murray, and this might be too good of a situation to where it's not going to happen. But DeJounte Murray back to the Spurs, man, I would like it a lot. If I'm about just as a basketball fan, I think that would benefit Wemby's game significantly because yeah, as of right now, Spurs are desperately needing a point guard, and someone like that, call him. Why not?
yeah, 100%. And last but not least, of these teams, for the sellers at least, we're gonna do the Jazz.
Yeah.
Now, we just brought up the Jazz. They have quite a few pieces that are gonna likely be on the move.
Yeah.
Larry Markkinen, obviously, probably aside from Donovan Mitchell, Who else? DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, and then Pascal Siakam and Michael Bridges. Like he's
Yeah,
probably the most coveted asset
he is.
out of anybody on any team. So, uh, you know, marketing, it's a two-way street. I think
Yeah,
the Jazz want to move off of him, but Danny
too good.
Ainge is going to be asking for a shitload.
Have a nice time
So,
trading with them, man. Because
yeah, that's going to be not fun for the
pain.
people getting them. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Um, so Markkinen, he's a fantastic player. I mean, I don't even know what to really say about him. I mean, it's very rare you see guys like that that can space the floor the way he can, that can put the ball on the deck.
athletic.
It's a
Yeah.
great, yeah, way more athletic than you think.
You way,
Can
way
kind of
more.
play 3 through 5, really.
Good defense too.
Yeah, solid shot blocker, not
Yeah.
as bad as you'd think
Perimeter
as a
wise, he's
post
solid.
defender.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's
pretty
played
all
the three
around.
quite a bit. Yeah,
He's a pretty solid playmaker as well as a secondary playmaker. He's not
yeah.
bad, man. He's just someone that if you get him on your team, you're lucky. He's going to be a phenomenal player for you. I don't
He's
think.
honestly reminds me of like Nick's Porzingis.
Yeah.
Just like very kind
Like
of
more
like a
efficient
hybrid.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Oh,
just more efficient. Yeah.
it's kind of crazy too. And I know you said ambitious, but it sounds like vicious, and he is vicious. Like that's
Yeah.
actually also a good descriptive word for him. Like Laurie Markkinen, man. Sometimes, yeah, a lot of times you see these players. Andrew Wiggins is a perfect example where it's like every fan can sense like, oh, this is a poster situation.
Yeah.
Like some guys take that opportunity, others don't.
Yeah.
Markkanen's one of those guys where you're
We'll
like,
take
oh,
it.
that'd be crazy if he dunked. And then he does
Yeah.
this
He just
crazy,
does
like
it.
under the
Yeah.
basket hook dunk. It just, he's
Yeah.
nasty, man. He's
He
willing
is.
to go ham out there. So I think Markkanen is a fantastic player, someone that can get you 28 and 5 on any given night on pretty solid efficiency, block a
Yeah.
couple shots too.
Yeah.
Like,
He's a dream for a lot of teams, man. He
yeah,
is a
and his contract too.
beautiful.
Very good.
Yeah. Not
Very
even
good.
expiring deal. Next year is expiring. So you have him for a bit of
Yeah.
time. Yeah, no, like we've said, man. Yeah, Markkinen is one. I think he's definitely a top three coveted asset this trade season. He is
100%.
phenomenal. Yeah, a lot of teams. I don't think there's a single team in the NBA that'd be like, I don't want
Yeah,
him.
I think literally 30 of 30
Every
teams would
team
want him.
would take Markkinen. Yes,
Yeah.
he is very good. The thing is just his versatility, man. He can
Oh,
play,
yeah.
he can. I know he's probably going to play 3 or 4, but even at times he's 7 foot. I mean, he
Yeah.
can run 5 if needed. Not that you want to, but dude, he can run the 3 through 5 pretty easily. And I mean, it's just like it's a dream come true of a player. He's like the perfect modern NBA player. He can shoot. He can
Yeah.
do everything offensively. He can shoot the mid range. He can get to the paint. Like he's just a phenomenal player that I don't think that many teams wouldn't want. He's a good sized player. I mean, it is what it is, but he's phenomenal.
Yeah. That trading for Marketing is going to, for the Jazz, is going to go down as like one of the biggest, like, you know, oh, thank you kind of things ever as
Yeah.
far as basketball. Cause, man, you know, we all know how much hype, oh, I wouldn't even say hype, but how much promise Markkinen had in his time with the Bulls, even
Yeah.
in his stretch with Cleveland. But the injuries just, they really
They
kicked his
hurt him, man.
ass, and he
Yeah.
could never get a rhythm or anything. He always showed flashes. And then right when he gets to the Jazz, this dude,
He shows
health,
up.
boom.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, oh, see, once he's healthy, man, again, you know, that could even help a guy like DeAndre Hunter or someone who it's like, you
Yeah.
know, you see what happens,
He's
you
gone.
know, get my
Yeah.
health under me, and you know, now I could take off. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man, for the Jazz, biggest asset, Larry Markkinen,
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely.
But lucky for them, they also have spark plugs like Jordan Clarkson,
Yeah.
Colin Sexton,
Yeah.
John Collins, who I don't know why they even traded for in the first place, but John Collins.
Yeah.
And I don't know who's really going to want John Collins because he's not a very good defender. He's not
Yeah.
a very good rebounder. He's inconsistent shooting.
Yeah.
But
They got him.
someone might want him. I don't know.
They
Like,
got. I don't remember why they did it. I remember they traded
yeah,
Rudy Gay and they got rid of something else. I couldn't tell you
yeah.
why they did it. I'm
It felt
guessing
like, yeah.
even
Oh,
for
go
the
ahead.
market it's gone. I'm guessing that's what it is. So he gets more.
Yeah,
I have no idea. It's a really weird trade. Still, I don't think it's bad, but it's a really weird situation for both.
yeah. It felt like another Blazer situation where it's like they want to try and act like they're competing. They don't
Yeah.
want to like fully admit that they're rebuilding kind of
Yeah.
thing. But it's like, okay, well, you know, all you're doing is just bringing in a locked up asset that if he doesn't play well, good luck. You know,
Yeah.
you're potentially screwing yourself right now. But someone may inquire about Collins. I don't know who. And then Kelly Olynyk. Geez, Kelly Olynyk is
He's been
someone
really.
every
Yeah.
team would want.
Yeah.
Again, just like a perfect backup center that can
Yeah.
space the floor and rebound, does the dirty stuff, the hustle plays. Everybody's got something to say about Olynyk, but
Yeah.
everyone knows if he was on your team, you'd love it.
Love him. Yeah, exactly.
Um, again, he'll be one of the more coveted guys, role player wise, kind of on that same Dorian Finney-Smith train of role players that I think teams would want.
Definitely.
I think for the Jazz, like for some of these teams, it's more hyper specific, like who is probably going to be inclined. For the
Yeah.
Jazz, I think we can just safely say 30 of 30 teams are going to look at the Jazz.
Yeah.
30 of 30.
100%. No.
Even
But
teams that might not have any assets to trade, they're going to at least like pick up the phone to Danny and be like, what are you just like, give me a ballpark of what you're looking for. You
yeah.
know, they just have so many guys to move, so many guys, and they don't have to move them. That's the other thing is, again,
No.
Markkanen, team friendly deal.
Yeah.
Collins, if nobody wows you with anything, you don't have to move him. He's still signed there. You guys aren't competing, so whatever. You
Yeah.
know, Sexton, same deal. Clarkson, that's the only one, and Olynyk that you might want to try to get off of because they're getting older
Yeah.
and they're more like, you know,
Their
role
values.
player. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got the contenders are going to be really looking for him.
Clarkson.
Markkanen's going to get wanted by everyone. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the Jazz are in a great spot, man. Jazz
Yeah.
fans, this is perfect for you. We've said it many times. I don't care about losing. I mean, I don't want to lose. I just
Yeah.
care about seeing the direction, seeing, okay, do we have a plan? And I think the Jazz are in the perfect position. Danny Ainge, he knows what to do.
He
He's
does.
man, that dude's fleeced everyone he's ever been in office with. So
He
I
does.
think he'll get the right trades
He
done.
knows
So
what he's doing.
yeah, I think the Thunder though are probably the biggest suitors for Markkanen just because Jesus man, the Thunder have the most players to give up. They've got the
Yeah.
most picks to give up. They got the most cap space to deal with. The Thunder have everything they need to get any one of these guys on this list. Literally anyone. Nobody can touch the asset levels that they have. Um, so I mean, honestly, I could see within the next 2 years all them draft picks going
Yeah.
because you
Do.
guys have them to spare, and it's like
We
you
do.
know your windows right now, the next like 5 6 years.
Yeah.
So this is the perfect time to start making some moves. Um, but yeah, man, the Jazz, 30 of 30, man. Everybody's going to be looking at them.
Definitely.
Uh, I do want to get into the buyers now. I didn't talk about every single player on the sellers, but the remaining teams there are the Blazers. I think Malcolm Brogdon is probably the most coveted.
Yeah.
Again, talking about teams like the Spurs would 100% want a Brogdon, just a veteran point guard, knows how to control an offense. We talked about the Wizards, Hornets, Miles Bridges. I don't know who's going to want him. Someone scummy. Gordon Hayward, expiring contract, I
Yeah.
think. And Terry Rozier, someone's going to probably look at him for a bench score. Pistons, I think at this point just have to make a move. Like you got to do something, you know.
Yeah.
But then that's it. So
Yeah.
for the buyers, first up, we got the Knicks. You
Yeah.
know, the Knicks just traded for OG Anunoby. I don't personally think they have to make a move, but every day I'm still seeing they're looking for that elite shooting guard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want something else. I'm kind of confused. I don't know what else they. No, I guess they do have a decent amount of stuff to offer, but after moving off of Quickly and you moved off of RJ Barrett, there's a lot of things I'm kind of interested in to see how they go because obviously Brunson's the main focal point there. We all know this now. They
Yeah.
made it very, very clear by that, and seeing what they're. Maybe they let go of someone like a Jericho Sims. Maybe they trade off with someone like Hartenstein. I don't know. They have a lot of interesting ways to go there. I know they still have Josh Hart, and I don't think he's leaving anytime soon. Same with DiVincenzo. I'm pretty sure they're in love with those players for sure. But I'm guessing maybe a Randall might be an odd man out if
That's
that's
what I think. I think
is.
again another team like Markkanen, you know, Randall picks someone like figure out a package where you can move off of Randall and bring in Markkanen. I
I,
think Randall is a solid player, but
I do
Randall
too,
is
but
just the
he's
IQ, man. He's
slow.
he's got the Jalen Brown, disease of ball handling. And then
Yeah.
his decision making is just so questionable all the time. Like,
Yeah, his shot selection.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
someone that like genuinely is a great 25 and 10 guy. Like,
Yeah.
no questions asked, he can give you that. But it's just, can you get him focused? Can you keep it consistent? Can you keep the decision making at a high, the
Yeah.
ball handling in check, so he's not, Jordan pooling it out there. Like, that's the only issue with Randall, that I see. And again, also has the Westbrook thing where it's like you got 20 seconds on the shot clock and Randall's taking Jason Tatum pull up threes. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Um, they just getting a smarter player
Yeah.
that can be a little more off ball would be better. I think Markkinen, again, perfect fit, but like I said, that's 30 of 30. So
Yeah.
I think the Knicks, they're looking for that elite shooting guard. How many times have we seen Donovan Mitchell linked there? I think we all thought Donovan Mitchell would go there 2 seasons ago, but he ended
Yeah.
up going to Cleveland, which he claims was perfect. You know, I don't believe that, but that's just me. I know he had the LeBron thing, but yeah, bullshit. I call BS.
Yeah.
The next one, another small guard, I guess. But
I don't know, man.
yeah, neither do I. I think DiVincenzo is a perfect starter. He's 6'5",
Yes.
really solid on ball defender, can
Yeah.
shoot the three well. Like, DiVincenzo is a perfect two guard, especially if you're going to go out and get an upgraded four. Um, we know without Mitchell Robinson, the paint defense lacks a little bit, as well as a good enough lob threat. But adding Precious Chua was pretty big, and
You are.
Hartenstein, solid player.
I like that dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
He plays
I when he was with the Clippers, I was hoping the Warriors would make a deal for him. That was before he signed that $55 million deal with the Knicks. But I
yeah.
like Hartenstein. I think he's a solid big.
He plays
You
good
know,
defense too. Yeah.
yeah, as a backup,
Yeah.
you're not mad.
Too much.
Yeah, you're not mad at all. So for
Yeah.
the Knicks, it's just getting that elite shooting guard. But in general, I think it's just getting a second elite player.
Yeah.
I don't think they quite need it, but I do think if there was anything to do, it's replace Randall with a better Randall.
Yeah.
So that's my take. But they want a shooting guard, so shooting guard.
Yeah. There's a lot of question marks the Knicks always have, man. I think we're still in a universe where they most likely won't end up with Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, probably. I hope not for Knicks fans' sake. It doesn't
It doesn't
it
make sense.
doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Another
It just
small guard.
becomes redundant and the defense suffers. It's just not good.
It's not it, man. I'm with you on
Yeah.
that. I hope the Knicks can hopefully figure out their own flaws. I still think they're not a contender as of right now, but I do think they're a very good team.
Yeah, again, they need that extra piece. Like a
They
Mikal
do.
Bridges would fit well at
That
shooting
wing, man.
guard. If you because Mikal plays shooting guard sometimes for the Nets, so you want to throw him at the two, perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So Knicks elite number two,
Yeah.
76ers. We've heard them tied a little bit over the last month to Mikal Bridges. They kind of want an upgrade at small forward. I know
Yeah.
they have Oubre. Oubre started off fantastic. He's been
Yeah.
getting back, obviously, after getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, crazy. But
Yeah.
we know they've also been trying to move off of Tobias Harris, who's been playing great basketball.
Yeah. He's coming
Credit to
back.
him.
Yeah.
But we do know they want to upgrade. I think their depth is solid
It is.
overall.
It
After
is.
that Clippers trade, they got so much in return role player wise. I don't really think they're too in need of much depth upgrades. I just think they need that extra guy.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
So 76ers looking for an all-star caliber small forward.
Yeah.
Bucks, we were talking about that before. An upgrade from Malik Beasley. I think Malik Beasley has not looked very good for them.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
talked about it before. The dude's the human barometer. If he's shooting well, the team does great. If he's shooting poorly, the team does terrible. He's not a very good defender. He's way too hit or miss. Like, I think the Bucks in like 21 with Wesley Matthews was better.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
I'd rather have that. So, they need a shooting guard and then some more 3-and-D depth. Obviously, one of the biggest things to suffer this season for the Bucks has been the defense in general, which I think is shocking to a lot of people, including myself. I did not. I mean, I knew bringing in Damian Lillard was going to give a hit to
We
the
kind of rumored
defense,
it a
but
bit, but
I didn't
yeah,
think it was going to
not
be
this
this
much.
bad. Yeah.
I'm agree.
So getting some more depth, 3-and-D wise again, Nets, ton of suitors for that.
Yeah,
A lot of guys to bring in. Matisse Thybulle, someone they could probably try and pry off. DeLon Wright would be a good backup guard
definitely.
that could kind of guard the opponents one through twos. DeAndre Hunter, interesting player, potential pickup there.
Yeah,
Um, who else? Caruso would be a fun player there.
for them. Yeah,
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys that the Bucks are probably be inquiring about.
yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah. Next, Heat. Uh, I think the Heat for the last like 2 years have just really been looking to get that true number two.
Yeah,
Hero is a good player,
he
but I don't
is.
ever think there's going to be some next level for Hero. I think he's going to be in that 20-point range, which is very good. He's a good
Totally.
third scorer.
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler, I think, is your number two scorer. Bam, stop trying to get Bam to be a 25 point per game guy.
he's
Just
not that good.
stop.
He's
No.
not. He's not
You
good.
want him
Yeah,
allocating his skill set to defense and then being a lob threat. So,
phenomenal. So yeah, keep him there.
yeah, they need to get that number one scorer kind of guy.
Quickly.
It's honestly, I didn't put the Suns at sellers, but uh, you know, could we see KD
Man,
ask out? I don't know. Could
from
we see
what Reddit
Bradley
thinking, yeah,
Beal ask out or something like that?
yeah,
But the Heat want to make a move. I've seen Donovan Mitchell tied there for a little while.
yeah,
Um, yeah, the Heat want to get that number two guy or that number one guy and probably some more depth. I mean, we know the Heat have been fantastic at developing under the radar guys like Drew Smith coming in. I really like what's his name? Jamal Cain. He looks really good. Good young wing. But I think getting them some more depth and another big score
yeah,
help them big time. And I think they probably finally give them the respect they deserve.
yeah.
Um, People forget, man, the Heat have pretty much been to every single finals, or they went in 20. Uh, they were very nearly it in 22.
And they lost to the Celtics.
Yeah. And then 23, they
They
made
won.
it. So, like, they've been a really fucking good team. But
Yeah, over the
yeah,
last decade so far. Yeah, they've been
yeah.
really.
So, Heat, they're not too far off, just a couple more pieces. But, I think they have draft capital to move. They've
It's
got some
all.
young players they can move off of Hawkes,
Oh,
Jovic. I
how can
know, I know Hawkes has been fantastic, but if you're looking for that true number one score, you're gonna have to drop
yeah,
him.
I
So
know. He
it's
might catch a good amount because he's been phenomenal so
oh,
far.
he's been great. He's
Yeah.
been great. Warriors once again. I mean, like, what did he get picked right before? I think he got picked 18 to the Heat.
Yeah, he got picked a few
Warriors
picks.
19.
Yeah,
Yeah, Hawkes was someone the Warriors were looking at.
that's not a bad pick.
Yeah, the dude's got the game, man.
Yeah,
Everyone said he's got, reminds him of Kobe. He does. That dude's
somewhat. Yeah,
play style, he's got it. He's just a little less like bursty than you'd think.
yeah.
Which when I was looking at stuff about him before the draft happened, that was the one thing that I was like, that's a little sketch. I like his play style, but I
Yeah.
wonder if the lack of immediate burst might be a problem.
Has not been so
Has
far.
not been.
Yeah, he's been
Um,
pretty good. I'll say that.
yeah. Next, we got the Magic. I think the Magic are a team that I'm a little bit reaching with. I don't think
Yeah.
the Magic have to make any sort of move right now.
Yeah.
However, it would, the Magic have not had success when it comes to playoff runs and playoff stretches going their way. So it's one of those where I put him there because I feel like they're going to make a move, or I think they'll make a move because they're like, this may never happen again. Like
Yeah.
a kind of a like, please God, let this be the year
Yeah.
kind of thing until they can start to establish a good playoff run. But we know they got a great young team. Franz is fantastic. Paolo's fantastic. I like Cole Anthony, his improvements. Wendell Carter Jr. is good. Mo Wagner looks good. They got a great team. Jalen Suggs. We don't have to talk. They're very good.
Yeah.
Um, but they're not a very good 3-point shooting team. We know they've really struggled with that. Getting them a little bit more shot creation would help. And then kind of like the Thunder, bring in the vets. I know they have Joe Ingles, but he's hurt. That's not really a vet I'd qualify either. But bringing in some more veterans, probably defensive minded. I do like what the Magic have going. They don't have to make a move. I've seen Zach LaVine tied to them for a little bit. But yeah, just bringing in some more action that way. I
Definitely.
mean, do you see anything with them that maybe you think they should add?
I'm with you on the part that I don't think they should feel any rush whatsoever. I think we were talking about Zach LaVine a few months ago with them, and
Yeah,
looking at them now, I don't necessarily think it's even needed. Like
yeah,
someone that big of a trade move that you'd have to trade a good amount for. I don't think it's needed. I definitely think you need to keep rocking with this team a bit more. Getting a few more, like you saying, veterans would be very helpful for sure. I know they have a plethora of guards, so someone I was thinking of would be Javon Carter, but they don't need another guard. They are so guard heavy. They do not need him. But yeah, definitely like just wings, like you're saying, Dorian Finney-Smith, he'd be really fun there. I know the 3 point, he doesn't really help the 3 point shooting issue they have, but someone along the lines of that. But no, definitely there's a
yeah,
lot done there. But yeah, like you're saying, 3 point shooting is a very big struggle there. And nowadays that is not going to help you whatsoever. But they're a very young team. I think they have plenty of time. I think their window is even bigger than the Thunder's. I think they're very young there. So they have a lot of time to figure all the kinks and such out. But I
yeah.
definitely invest would probably be my number one priority if I was them.
And them being in the East too helps a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a pretty easy conference for them to run in a few
yeah,
years.
yeah. Especially if a team like the Nets try to and the Raptors start rebuilding and such. So you'll have
Yeah,
just
they'll have a
so
head
many
start.
rebuilding teams in the
Yeah,
East.
yeah, for sure.
Next up for our continuation of the buyers market, we've got the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets obviously still probably the team to come out of the West. Um, Still probably the favorites to win the title. I think Jason Timp from Hoops Tonight brings up a very good point with them that they have a starting five,
They do.
meaning just it's an established five. Like that's like every team has to come up with the starting five. Theirs is established. There aren't changes being made. There's no fluctuation, questions. It's just you know what that five is. It's gonna be Jamal Murray. It's gonna be KCP, Aaron Gordon, MPJ, and Nikola Jokic. That's their five. Their bench has taken a bit of a hit. The non-Jokic minutes are a little bit tough for the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Obviously, losing Bruce Brown, being that kind of glue piece between the two units, sucks big time. Christian Brown is okay, but he hasn't been the player I think they expected. I kind of
Yeah.
think they were expecting more of an Austin Reeves leap from him, where it was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, you could kind of be that supplementary guy. Um, I like what I've seen from Julian Strother, as
Yeah.
well as Peyton. What's his name? Peyton Watson. He's looked pretty solid,
Yeah.
but I think they probably want a better bench. So for the Nuggets, I have searching for overall bench depth. Just anyone and everyone they'll inquire about that they think they can put on their bench for a relatively cheap price tag, and give them a better chance at winning. I don't think they need too much, just like one or two guys, really. For me, a backup center, a legit backup. I don't think DeAndre
Yeah.
Jordan is very
Not
good.
anymore. Not this
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And maybe a perimeter defender or two. But other than that, I think they're solid.
Yeah.
Um, so not much for them. For the Thunder, you you could take that one, but I'll just say what I have. I have searching for anything for the right price.
Yeah.
You guys have the most to spend, the most to offer, and the least to lose.
Yeah.
There's nothing really you have to deal with on that front. So, what do you think with your team? You guys are ultimately needing.
Yeah, I'm hoping they don't go a little far too much out. I hoping just small pickups here and there, not expecting too much, like too many crazy moves to be had. Just little veteran pickups, maybe some bench pieces that will help. Jordan Clarkson, if you want to go to the Thunder, we'll take you, man. We'd love to have you in OKC.
Mm.
But anything just along the lines of six-man type scoring, a playmaker off the bench like Jordan Clarkson would be really nice, but maybe a backup center would be nice. Having someone else like a Gafford, if the
Mm.
price was right, he'd be someone that's really cool to play next to Chet, I think, at times. giving the Thunder a different aspect and that they can go big that way as well. But definitely nothing crazy needed. Giddey's picked up the play a lot recently. He's been a lot
Mhm.
better. He's starting to fit a little bit more into the offense, I think, but him finding his way a little bit more helps with this. Definitely think there's not too much to that is needed for sure. They are sitting second in the West right now. They're on a nice little win streak right now. 7-1 over the last 8 games. Not a crazy lot needed, but here and there, bench pieces would be nice. Veteran pickups would be very nice, but nothing that's going to break the bank.
Yeah. I think you guys are again kind of in that magic situation of like there's no rush. You
Not
guys,
yet. Yeah.
if you didn't even make a move, there's no problem with that. It would I would 100% understand Sam Presti saying, let's just see
Not
what they've
yet.
got. Let's just
Yeah.
see what they've got. Once we see what they've got in the playoffs, then we could start making some assessments. Plus, I think it would be smart on that front, just because we all know trade deadline, a lot of overpays tend to happen. So,
Yeah.
Sam Presti might be saying, you know what, we're not going to get the best deal for anything now. Let's wait until the off season when no one's really gunning for anything,
Yeah.
um, as like a desperate move. So, yeah, you guys are in kind of the best spot of anyone in the West right now, as far as don't really need much. You know,
Yeah.
if you do something cool, if not, cool. But yeah, next I got the Warriors. Talked about it ad nauseum.
Yeah.
Shot creation, a clear number two scorer, not just like, hey, let's go get another guard. No, fucking God, no. Please, please don't do that. Oh, if I see another fucking guard walk into this locker room, I'm gonna jump off a bridge. Perimeter defense. The news hit today. Gary Payton II, unfortunately, injuries, man, are kicking his butt. It sucks. It really does because he's our best perimeter defender, our
Yeah.
best POA guy. He's going to be out for the next month, maybe more, maybe more. And it wouldn't shock me if they just shut him down.
Yeah.
Wouldn't shock me at all. They've played very well with him. He's got like a plus 5, 6 net rating with the Warriors in his time, but he just can't stay healthy. And I don't know if they want to risk him, really getting hurt. So it wouldn't shock me if he gets shut down. But Draymond, it seems like will be back before Gary. So at this
Yeah.
point, Wiggins has been a net negative defensively.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, we already know the offensive struggles he's had. Kaminga, he's playing a lot better, but I still
Hit
think
my
the
list.
Warriors would do better with someone who's established. I think Kaminga has really stepped up, and all the credit to him. I mean, he needed that opportunity. All these young guys, man, they need an opportunity to really show himself. And Kaminga with the starters has showed quite a bit. Um, but I don't know. I think at this point, again, getting a guy like Michael would be perfect. Getting a guy like Larry Markkinen would be awesome, but that one seems very unlikely. But
Yeah.
yeah, just getting that clear number two scorer, bringing in some perimeter defense like a Dorian Finney-Smith, that would be great too.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, getting another center. I know they have three. Trace Jackson Davis has been really fucking good. No shade to him whatsoever. But I do think they need a true 7-footer that can block shots,
Yeah.
like a Nick Claxton, like a Daniel Gafford, like a Jakob Pertl. Just someone who can do everything that Trace can, but that's just a little bit taller.
Yeah.
That's my only question because again, so far since Trace has really started playing, we did face Jokic once.
Yeah.
He didn't do too poorly
Having a very
against
good-
Jokic, but
Yeah.
when we see AD, we're gonna see Aiton some more. Or I don't know. I think we already maxed out our games against them, but Trace is gonna be getting some run against some really good centers.
Amen.
And I think we need a legit big. So
Yeah.
that's
That's
my personal thing. Warriors fans, I know, have been saying they need to get a legit center, but
yeah.
Trace has been very good. So if they decide not to pull the trigger there, I get
Mhm.
it. Just my personal taste.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Clippers. I honestly think they're in a pretty good spot. I
Okay.
think my only move for them that I think there is searching for a more athletic center,
Yeah.
more athletic than Zubats. I love the pickup of Daniel Tice. We talked about it a ton, especially during FIBA, how much we like Tice. Mason Plumlee's a very good backup, but I genuinely do think they need a more athletic guy. I think Zubats is kind of just flat footed. Like he's
Yeah.
not Jonas Valanciunas out there, but he's kind of in that same vein of slower bigs. Um, Good player, but I think a Daniel Gafford type guy would do a lot better in this system
Yeah.
defensively, and he's more athletic, so he kind of helps Harden a little bit more in pick and roll, and just a legit lob threat in general. So,
Yeah.
um, for me, that's kind of my take on that. They are an interesting team. What are your thoughts on the Clippers?
Yeah, I think that's very fair to think they could use another center that has better athleticism. Last year they lost in the first round, I would say mostly due to injuries.
Yeah,
Their playoff exits, I can't really judge them too much. They've been solely based on injuries. For me, I don't know. I don't know what they really need because I don't know how it is. It's really, I don't know. They're in a really weird spot to me. I think they're very good, obviously, and they just cracked the
yeah,
top power rankings. I think they're very good. There's really not that much else I think they could use at the moment. They still have pretty solid depth for how much they traded away. They still have relatively a good amount.
yeah.
Westbrook being on the bench, he's actually started to click a little bit more on the bench. He's looked a lot better. Amir Coffey, like we
He's
said,
looked great. Yeah,
very good for them recently,
and
and
Kobe Brown.
very good.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kobe Brown too. Yeah, exactly. They have. I think they're in a spot where you made your big trade, you swung, and as of right now, it looks like a home run. So keep your
yeah.
luck. Maybe a few more bench pieces here and there, but nothing too crazy, I think, from them.
Yeah. 100%. I don't really think they need to make some more, some big home run swing. I don't. If they did, I think that's just stupid. Honestly,
Yeah,
we talked about it last week. Just stop making these crazy moves. You don't need to.
yeah, you're good.
Um. So yeah, Clippers not too much there.
Yeah,
For the Lakers want a third scorer.
you need it.
Austin Reeves did not take the leap they expected. He's starting to get back to where he was last year, but that's not enough. D'Angelo Russell still not viable. We've talked about that a ton. Don't want to get back into that. AD's had a good season, really good season. LeBron has been fantastic. We all know that. Um, Obviously, the Lakers have a curse when it comes to players shooting the way they did on past teams once they
Yeah,
get to the Lakers.
they've
So
been example so far.
yeah,
No
getting
injured.
getting that number two score, the number three score, and then bringing in some more shooting would be great. They're still a very good transition team. They're great defensively. Uh, yeah, I mean Zach LaVine makes sense. DeJounte Murray, I see why they would want him. I bet he'd look better defensively there than he does in Atlanta.
Yeah,
But I still don't know if he's the perimeter defender that he was in 2019 or wherever the Lakers are looking at for that. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, it's interesting. I don't really know. And again, the Lakers are just one of those teams where you never think they've got the assets to move to get someone, and then they just like
Probably.
it's like okay, trade probability in 2K. It's like for me, it's going to be a negative 50, but for the Lakers, they could give up a toothpick and a chicken, and they can get Giannis. It's ridiculous. So. Wouldn't shock me if they end up with another big name. But Zach LaVine and DeJounte, those have been the two most prevalently tied to. So, um, yeah. For the Suns, I think they're going to be buyers because the season has not gone the way they expected, and they went all in. And
Yeah,
I don't think Matt Ishbia is going to just say, let's blow this whole thing up.
yeah. I
Unless KD gets like adamant about get me the fuck out of here. This isn't what I signed up for. I think they're gonna try and buy, but I don't know with what. I know they probably have draft picks down the line, but
yeah.
young players, they don't have any. They don't really have many assets to move. They already have very mediocre depth as is. Um, I don't think you can move Bradley Beal. I think his contract is just dog shit at this point, and he cannot stay healthy. I mean, it's been like what 5 years or something since he's played 60 games in a season.
Something like
Some
that.
ridiculous. Like the dude just can't stay healthy, and he's making like 45 flat for the next 5 years. It's insane. So, um, I don't really know what the Suns are gonna do. So I just said searching for overall depth. Just anyone, anything. If they're available for cheap, the Suns are gonna try and nab them. With what? I don't know, but they're gonna try. They've got
Yeah.
to. So, um, Yeah, I mean, what do you think about the Suns? I know there's just not like it's just a
Man,
question mark. I don't really know.
I think you hit it right on the nail, man. I don't think there's too much they can do. I think they're maxed out on assets, and I think if you trade any more draft picks, it's not going to be a good look. But I definitely think they're going to be a huge player on the buyout market more so than the trade market.
Facts. Yeah.
I definitely think the trade market might not be their biggest strength this year as compared to the last few years, but definitely I think they're going to be a huge player on the buyout market. As of right now, like you said, their season has not gone the way they've expected, I would think. So it
Mhm.
might be a little bit of a pain on the buyout market comparative to previous years for them, but definitely think they're going to be wanting to trade, but don't know how much they can offer because I think their big three, I would agree that it is somewhat untouchable, more so because Beal is untradeable at this point, it seems like, and he's going to be very hard to move off of. Don't see it happening. Booker and Katie, you can't move on from them. That's the only, these are blueprint to win. It's your only way to win is through them. Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon, they're too good to trade. They're a huge reason why you're any what successful this year and going to make the playoffs is solely because those two have stepped
They've
up
stepped up big time. Yeah.
they have taken on a huge scoring load for that team, and that's to say the least. They've had a few bright spots for sure, but a lot of question marks as well in this team. But definitely think the overall depth is a huge, huge question mark. And I think you're right. I think any trade they can do to acquire some depth here and there, you never know. But I mean, like we said about the Lakers, I feel somewhat similar about the Suns. I don't know how they pull off some of these trades. It doesn't make that much sense to me. Someone like a TJ McConnell I've seen has been tied to them for
Yeah,
a
we talked about
while.
them a bit. Yeah.
He's been tied there. That's someone I wouldn't mind too much. If Tyus Jones, if they could somehow acquire Tyus Jones, they are a huge winner of the trade market. Don't think that might be too good of a dream come true, but you never know. Phoenix
Yeah.
will swing something their way. James Jones is pretty good as a GM so far. He's had a pretty decent track record, I guess, as their GM. Obviously, a few questionable trades here and there, but definitely something that they're going to have to look forward to. I think just acquiring any sort of point guard would be a home run for them.
Yeah, 100%. Tyus Jones would be a great add-on. Again, it's just like it feels like any trade, any move they make, you already are so spread so thin asset wise, or at least player wise. It's like
Yeah,
any trade that involves giving up another player,
it's
it's
not
just
going to
like
be
it's like a shot to the chest, you know. It's just not like, oh, okay, that's a big piece
good.
in
Yeah, yeah.
hindsight. Yeah. So I don't really know what the path here is for the Suns. I think you brought up a great point about the buyout market.
That might be
They're gonna have to be absolutely living there.
yes.
So hopefully they get something done again.
Yeah.
It would suck for them. I mean, well, actually, in my opinion, it would kind of bail them out if KD was like,
Why
I
not?
don't want to be here anymore. Like, if that to me would be fantastic because it's like, right now it's you kind of made the wrong move getting Beal, and how you get out of that, I have no clue. That's
Good luck.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Good
You
luck.
screwed yourself there.
Allen was
Um,
better.
yeah.
They're shooting themselves in the foot for that one.
Yeah, but with KD, it's one of those things where someone's gonna be knocking on the door like, hey, you guys aren't really thinking you're competing, or do you?
Yeah.
And they're gonna have to, like you said, Jones might have to sit there and really think, like, should we pull the trigger here? I mean, why not? So, um, again, the West is just so stacked. It's like, if you're not 100% confident, just sitting in mediocrity is not helping you.
Yeah.
So,
No whatsoever.
yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But the Suns are a big question mark for me as buyers. I think you made the perfect point of the buyout market would be for them.
Yeah.
Um, Next, we've got the Kings. Uh, for me, I just have searching for overall defense and bench depth. I think a
Yeah.
lot of the bench pieces they brought in haven't performed to the level they expected. Malik
No.
Monk hasn't been the same player from last season. He
Not
hasn't been bad by any means.
bad,
He's
but
been
yeah, he's not.
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, just hasn't been the guy from last year that we thought could even be a supplementary starter. So, for them, it's just improving that defense more, thinking about getting another center, and replacing Harrison Barnes, who, in my opinion, is just like one of
He's average.
the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
He's kind of mid.
he might be one of the worst starters in the league as far as like overall production and skill set. So,
Yeah.
Um, Kings, I think are buyers, but
I
I don't
agree.
know how much they're willing to move off of. I mean, I like the idea of teams asking for Colby Jones. I think Colby Jones is a lot.
Yeah.
And then Kings probably have a shitload of picks to move too. So they're not going to be short of making moves, in my opinion. I think they got guys to get.
With you on that.
And then last but not least, man, we got the Mavs.
Yeah.
Um, the Mavs still to me are a big question mark. You got a lot of overperforming pieces. Are we really going to sit here and say that Dante Exum shooting 45% from three come playoff time?
Sustainable.
Honestly, be
It's
honest with ourselves,
zero,
folks.
guys. Zero, guys.
Like, there's
Oh,
going to be a regression, and that regression is going to hit like a Mack fucking truck.
yeah, it's gonna hit really hard when
Oh,
that trophy
I'm
comes in.
waiting on it. I'm waiting on it. These motherfuckers think they're the Heat. I can't stand it. It's like you're not gonna. The Heat are the only team that can get away with this level of overperforming.
Yeah.
Like I swear to God, if Dante Exum has some, Caleb Martin level fucking playoff run, I'm going to absolutely lose my shit.
Ah,
Um, but no, for me, the Mavs just need some perimeter defense and some more depth. That's it. Move off of Kyrie if you can. I don't know why Kyrie's there still. Doesn't make sense. I know that he's a good scorer. I'm not an idiot. I know that, but I don't think he fits
he does.
personally.
Yeah, he does.
Um, I think he's a little redundant. I mean, I felt the same way about Dinwiddie too. So,
Yeah,
but
exactly. Kyrie's a way better version of that. So
yeah, I still like obviously the Bucks ended up with Damian Lillard, but I still felt like Chris Middleton would kind of be the perfect fit for Luka Doncic as a wing guy.
yeah.
But at this point, probably not going to get too much. You don't really have too many young players to move. I don't know how much, Josh Green needs, and I don't think you can trade Derek Lively, who's become one of your
Oh,
best players.
oh, no way. Yeah,
Yeah,
no way. He's too good for them, man.
yeah. So for the Mavs, you know, maybe try and get back Dorian Finney-Smith, maybe check in on Royce O'Neal, just
Yeah,
any of these perimeter guys, but there's not too much more I think the Mavs can do outside of get rid of all their picks. And if they spread themselves thin at the deadline here, where I still don't think they're really a contending team, I don't know. I think you're kind of hurting yourself there.
I agree with
But
you.
yeah, that being said, that is going to wrap things up here. A lot of trade deadline talk, a
Yeah.
lot of stuff to happen. Again, these are all opinions. I'm not 100% on some stuff on a lot of this
Yeah.
stuff. This is me just guessing what teams need based
Yeah.
off of what I've seen. I don't have guys in the booth telling me what the Mavericks need. Okay, please don't assault me for this. Um, there's yeah, whatever. Um, but sellers too. A couple of them are a bit stretches,
Yeah.
potential reaches, but these are what I'm looking at. So yeah, man. If you like the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. In the Moment Hoops, as always, will be in the description. Check out their stuff below. Uh, as the trade deadline ramps up, which it's going to, stuff is going to start happening. The wheels will be in motion. So there will be more videos about that covering moves that do happen. So yeah, man, that's going to do it. If you enjoy the video, like I said, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.